welcome to the Good Girls Society. I'm Sass.
And I'm Jen. And on today's episode, we're giving you the 411 on Butcher and Blackbird,
The new dark romance novel that's got book talk and bookstagram in a chokehold.
Trigger warnings. We will be discussing murder, explicit sex, genital piercings, lobotomy, and accidental cannibalism.
Now be a good girl and follow our socials. You can find us at good.girls.pod on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. All right, Jen. So because this is a new podcast, I thought that it would be good to do some rapid fire questions. So I'm going to hit you with them.
I am ready.
So I actually just really want to know this one. Do you have siblings?
I don't. I am an only child.
You do not give off only child energy at all.
I was going to say a Gemini and an only child. I'm not doing great.
All the warning signs are there.
Yep, the red flags galore. It's fine. It's okay.
No, you give off big sister energy for sure. Like, you seem so warm and together. Like, you really give me big sister energy.
I try. A lot of people have said that, actually, so I'm not surprised.
Good. Okay, I'm not alone in this feeling.
No, not at all.
Oh, this one's a good one. Okay, so favorite trope in a book?
So I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anybody, but it's enemies to lovers.
Yes! Honestly, one of the best.
I love it so much. Like, give me a good villain origin story with, like, nothing. There's nothing I love more than a fairy tale retelling with a villain and the villain falling in love. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I love it, especially when they hate each other. Give me that. I love it.
The, like, pure, like, animosity that they feel towards each other, and then they just take it out with a bit of,
Mm-hmm. The good, angry makeup sex. Give it to me.
Yeah. No. Okay. I love that answer. I'm into it. Oh, okay. This one's a bit kinky. So your kinky secret talent.
I'm really good with my tongue. My party trick is tying cherry stems with my tongue. So
okay, next podcast filming, we're doing that. It's happening.
Okay.
Oh my.
So
I love that.
We'll call that my kinky talent.
That is a great kinky talent. I love it. Thank you for answering my rapid fire questions.
Of course. So my questions, I looked up questions to ask on a first date because I felt like it was fitting. You know, why? I mean, where else would I get questions? No big deal. So the first one is, what are some hobbies and activities outside of books and reading are you really passionate about?
Ooh.
I figured I'd start it easy.
Yeah, a nice easy one. I really love music, so I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got a piano. So I find piano, like playing piano, I did it when I was younger, so I took like proper lessons. But then I stopped. Like when I moved out of home and moved to Melbourne at 23, I kind of just like didn't do it anymore. So I got myself a piano last year as like my divorce gift to myself. And
love it.
like I sort of use it to like empty my brain. So it's like one of those hobbies that I have where you have to focus so hard on what you're doing that you just forget everything around you, and it's such a nice way to get that smooth brain experience. So I love playing my piano. I also love singing. What else? I really am just like hardcore on the books at the moment. Like when I love something, I'm just like in it. So yeah, I guess most of my hobbies and activities are book related. I also just asked my mum for a sewing machine for Christmas. So she was like, yep, done. I love that for you. So I'm going to start trying to do some like simple sewing, like try and start altering some of my clothes myself, and then hopefully move into like making my own cosplay, because that's really what I would like to do. So yeah, those are my hobbies.
I love that. And you can send me some stuff too.
Yes.
So next is, what is a book that left the biggest impression on you?
Oh. Probably it's hard because like I feel like every book I read I'm like that really got to me. But I think like I'll give you two answers. So my basic bitch answer would be A Court of Silver Flames. Purely because I think Nesta's story really speaks to second chances, and if people hadn't given me second chances and I hadn't been given a second chance to be a better person, I really wouldn't be the person that I am today. I struggled a lot in my youth with my attitude. It turns out I just was undiagnosed with ADD, and unfortunately that turned into BPD. So I had some like real issues with how I treated people and just generally that kind of stuff. So if I hadn't had people in my court who sort of forgave me for some of my behavioral patterns and understood that, yeah, like I deserved to be given the opportunity to do better and
Yeah.
just be better. I think, yeah, that really, A Court of Silver Flames and the forgiveness and the friendship really like spoke to me and affected me a lot. So I really, really love that story. And then, and then I think the other one that I most recently read would be Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. So
Okay.
that's part of the Bright Falls series, which is like a lesbian romance series. And Astrid finds out a lot later in life that she isn't straight, which is kind of cute, which like I've always known that I'm not straight, but I didn't realize until recently that I'm very gay.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't really like dudes at all.
There's
which
nothing wrong with that.
which yeah, it was a revelation for me, but Astrid's like very much like her. I don't have the same relationship with my mum, but her mum was like very hard on her, and um she had this idea of being perfect, and she didn't follow her passion. She followed what her mum wanted her to do as a career, and just like pretty much put herself in this square box of being this perfect fiance and doing what her mum said and doing a job she didn't like. And for a long time I felt like I was in that position, so she kind of
Yeah.
like quit her job, went on a reality show and met the love of her life, who happened to be a woman, and it was just a really nice story. I really enjoyed Bright Falls. I've nearly finished the last book, and I'm going to be sad when it's over.
I bet. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to check that out. I've never heard of it.
It's cheesy. It's like proper like romance, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was really good.
Nice. So moving on to the spicier question, what is the most daring thing you've ever done on a date?
Um, am I allowed to do a kinky not safe for work one?
Yeah,
This is really
absolutely.
bad.
That's what this podcast is.
This is really bad. Okay, so one time I was on a date with a guy and we went to a cinema and the cinema was like empty. Like there was no one but us. I promise there was no one else in the cinema.
Mhm.
And he went down on me. There is something about being young and, you know, doing things in movie theaters.
Yup.
It's a shame.
Although mine was like last year or 2 years ago.
Oh my god. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad we learned some new things about each other, Jen. Honestly, that was
Yes.
great.
Well, especially because like we know so much about each other, but like we know things related to books, and like we
Right.
know our conversations stem around books. So when we have a chance to talk to each other like about other things too, like it's cool to get to know things that we like. When would we have talked about that unless it happened in a book? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's
Exactly.
awesome.
I
And
love
now
that.
all of our lovely listeners know that too.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
No, they knew what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, if you didn't know by now what you're getting yourself into from the content that we've posted, then maybe this isn't the podcast for you.
Sorry. I don't know if you saw that comment that was like, I thought this was this religious group that I follow. I was like, wrong account. Sorry.
Yep, sorry. This is not a Christian society. My bad.
All right, so moving on to the book, let's get into it. So, Butcher and Blackbird is the first in the Ruinous Love trilogy. It's a contemporary dark romance set between North Carolina and Boston and follows Sloane and Rowan, our two serial killers who kill serial killers. The morally grey is greying.
Hell yeah, it is. So, with that being said, we have some tropes and triggers for you in case you're sensitive towards anything. And just so you know what you're getting yourself into. So, some of the tropes and triggers are friends to lovers, forced proximity, hurt and taken care of, touch her / him and die vibes, which is also one of my personal favorites. But not just touch him and die, but die an agonizing death. Light, grumpy sunshine. She's a bit grumpy here and there. He's definitely more of the sunshine character out of the two of them. A friendly rivalry, which in this story is phenomenal. He falls first. And some triggers are murdery use of chainsaws, accidental cannibalism, eyeballs, questionable use of a mummified corpse, lobotomized manservant, axes, and did I mention the cannibalism? Because that's important. And one thing that is not listed on here, and to talk about it, the orzo pastas, aka the maggots, in the beginning of the book. So if you're following our Instagram, you may have seen a text exchange between Sass and I where all I just said was maggots, like with pukey emojis, because like, oh, maggots coming out of a person's body. Like, oh, nope. No, thank you. Absolutely not. And Sass's reply was, you mean orzo pasta? Because that is what Rowan compares it to throughout the entire story. So I will never, ever look at orzos the same again.
No,
Never.
orzo pasta is not on the menu ever again.
Nope, not at all.
Cool. So I'll start off with my overall rating and then Jen will move on to you. So I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
I agree. I really liked it. It might even be like a 4.75. Like I was getting there. Like I really, really loved this. The only thing that's keeping me from that 5 is that I want more. Like, I could have read this book for like 800 pages and still have been just as happy. But now I gotta wait. I gotta wait till the second one. Come on, Bryn. Like, come on.
Do we have a release date for the next one?
I don't know.
Because, like, I didn't realize it was part of a series until I looked back and found that it was a trilogy. But now I'm like, it's going to be hard to top that story, especially because, like, we obviously already know, I mean, we'll go into this a bit more, but we obviously already know that there are 4 other characters who are very, very interesting.
Oh, yes. Let's see. I am looking it up now to see if we have a release date. January 1st.
That's so soon.
It says expected. Now, that might be wrong because I'm looking at Goodreads, but it says expected publication January 1st, 2024.
That is so soon. I'm so excited.
Yes. So fingers crossed. Bryn, I need it now. I can wait till January. I cannot wait any longer.
No, it's necessary now.
So right. Why did you give it your rating?
I notched it down, and I'll talk about this when I go through like our pointers, but I think because I had an expectation going into it about how spicy it was. Like, yes, it was spicy, but it actually took so long to get to the spice, which is why I notched it down. It would have been perfect if we just got that spice sooner, but I will say that, like, it didn't detract from the whole story, and again, I'll explain when I get to it, but it just, I think because I had an expectation, which I shouldn't do. I shouldn't go into books with expectations. I already had one.
Fine, we all do it.
That's the thing about books, isn't it? When you're on like Bookstagram and Book Talk, you just generally get to see other people and how they discuss the book. And like the general vibe I got from the book was that it was dark romance, and I will get into it, but I personally don't actually think this is a dark romance.
No, this is more for me like a comedy. It's really bad to say this is a romantic comedy because you think like cutesy, whatever, like not serial killers, but like the comedic relief is what made it for me. So like I would definitely track it more with that.
Yeah. So I guess like the marketing of it being a dark romance, I went into it thinking it was a dark romance and then found it to be quite fluffy. So I don't think it detracted from the story. I think it was just my expectation was not met based on what I'd seen so far. But
then do you think too that our expectations are just kind of a little skewed?
Absolutely.
I mean, because like technically, like you think like Emily McIntyre, like the Hooked series and Scarred and all of them, they're dark romance, but I don't consider them dark romance because I think dark romance and I think like Haunting and Hunting Adeline and Her Soul to Take, like darker stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So part of me is wondering if like technically it is dark romance, but because we don't, because our dark is dark.
Our dark is a bit fucked.
Yeah. Like, because we go a little too hard sometimes. Does that mean it's just us?
It could, yeah, it absolutely could. Yeah, I reckon we get into it, like, into, like, the bits and pieces, because I think it will paint more of a story for other people. I do want to say, like, to anyone watching this, I've tried to make sure that we're not giving too many spoilers away. So if you're watching this as someone who hasn't read the book before, we're going to try not to ruin the actual story for you and give you more of like an overview. So we won't go in too deep, I don't think. We'll skirt around the details.
If we do, we'll apologize.
All right, so I'm going to start off with storyline because probably the storyline was my favorite part of this whole book.
Oh, yeah.
The storyline and the pace. So I gave the storyline a 5. This is like a weird thing that I really love. I don't know if it's a trope in books, but like I love when a story is adventurous and doesn't have a central meeting place. Like towards the end, there obviously is a central meeting place in the book that is Boston. But I feel like we do so much traveling in this book and we're never really in one spot, which to me is so fun. So I loved the adventurous storyline. I thought Rowan and Sloane traveling across the country to hunt down serial killers as part of a competition was like not only hilarious but also like fun to imagine. It was like a feast for my brain. Oh, yeah. I just really love when a storyline lets my imagination run wild. So I just never felt bored.
And it kept me like wanting more. Like, okay, you got this one. Who's next? Like, what serial killer are we going after next? Like, the true crime brain in me is like firing. Like, I love this. Let's go. Like, I wanted to be there and I wanted to do it too. Obviously, minus the murder because I don't think I could stomach it. Like, but.
So tell me, what did you rate the storyline?
5, 100%. I loved it. I loved the banter back and forth between the characters. I loved the, like you said, the adventure, going different places, and this whole, like, competition that he orchestrated from meeting her the very first day. Like, didn't even know this person, but was, like, kind of fangirling over her in the very beginning. And he was like, let's do this. And so I loved that, like, from the very beginning, you got that banter, that back and forth, and now we're going to compete and we're going to see who wins. And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. It definitely, I feel like there was just no point in that storyline where I was like, it's getting a bit dry, it's a bit boring, which is
not at all
heard of, like, to be honest.
Right, which makes me a little nervous for the future books because I'm like, this one was so great. It's at such a high bar. Like, what's next, you know?
100%. Okay, moving on to characters. So I gave the characters a 4 out of 5. So I felt like the characters were really, really likable and so easy to relate to. Rowan being this
Mm-hmm.
like imperfectly perfect person who saw so much good in Sloane, and Sloane herself who was so discouraged by her own action and proves that her own self-worth didn't stop someone else from loving her wholly and completely. Like I found that part of the story to be so sweet, like
Yeah.
so unnecessarily gooey.
No, I agree because like it's that idea that like no matter what you do, you're still good. Like
Yeah.
she killed people, but she killed bad people. Like it's that morally gray piece to it, but like she's still lovable. And that was something that she struggled with a lot, was feeling so unloved. And I know there's a lot, I mean, I feel that way sometimes. Like there's a lot of us who go through life, especially younger girls, that just feel so unlovable and feel like they're never going to find their person. And no matter, like I liked that it kind of showed you like, look, she does things that are not great and people still love her. Like that was really sweet to me too. I really liked that.
It was so cute. That's why I think, yeah, again, I rated it more of a romance because it was just, yeah, Rowan. Oh, Rowan.
Mm, we love Rowan.
I felt that the characters were really well fleshed out. I found their point of views to read so differently, which to me is super important. Like, I want to distinctly understand each character and
Mm-hmm.
their mindset and the way that their brains work. And I felt like you really got that from both of them. Um, the way Rowan thinks about Sloane with such like reverence and pure, undilated admiration made my heart crumble into a thousand tiny
Yep.
pieces. The
Yep.
way he, yeah, just every every thought process, every move that he made was just so perfectly aligned to how he wanted her to feel, and
Mm-hmm. It was so intentional.
so
Yeah.
intentional, so beautiful.
And then of course
Obviously,
his little quote that you're gonna love me one day, like that got me.
so
Like from the
cute,
very first meeting to constantly say that, I'm like, oh,
and I do.
I feel ruined.
um, Obviously, a man written by a woman is always going to be better than a real man, but give me the female equivalent of Rowan any day of the week.
Love it.
The only reason I didn't rate it higher was just because I don't think that I emotionally was able to relate to either of them that much. Like, it's not a bad thing, it's just a me
Oh
thing.
yeah.
I love when I can relate to a character emotionally through their actions or through their thought processes, and I just didn't feel like I could, which again isn't a bad thing. It's obviously really helped me to have other perspectives and other point of views.
Yeah.
So, not a bad thing, just a sass thing.
Mhm. Hey, we love sass things. It's okay. I would say a 5 for me.
Yep.
I did relate to Sloane.
Yep.
Um, minus the whole murder thing again. But the like fierce protection of your friends and the like feeling that you're unlovable and like feeling, obviously not anymore, I guess I should preface, but like when I was younger, like feeling certain ways, like having that feeling that like, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be loved? Why do people keep leaving? And that's something that she definitely struggled with, especially when she was younger. So I related to that aspect too. Um, Rowan is just a god, a walking god, and there's nothing that can convince me otherwise. And then you put Joe Arden in the audiobook if with an Irish accent, and I melted. I was done. I was done for. Like Bryn knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Like
That was
100%.
I just on a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
tangent, loved those two voice actors together. I felt they had such good chemistry. They made it work. And like, you know how sometimes voice actors won't be as like passionate or they just won't give it their all. I felt like those two,
Yeah.
especially when they're in the spicy scenes, they gave it their all. Like it was
Yeah. And
loved.
I usually, this is going to sound bad, but I usually don't like the girl voices. They usually bug me.
Yeah.
So when I listened to her voice, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, and I feel terrible that I can't think of her name. But I'm going to look it up while I'm talking, but
I can do
I
it.
loved that. I just loved her voice and it didn't irk me. Like a lot of times they feel really whiny and like when they're going through those moments in their mind, they're like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but usually it's that whiny, like, oh my God, shut up already, like kind of feeling. And I
Yeah.
never got that with her. Like I really, really, really liked it. Her name is Lucy Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I will definitely listen to any audiobook with her from now on because like she is one of the very few women voice actors that I actually can listen to and I don't feel like it's going to be nails on a chalkboard when they complain.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. All right, moving on to Spice. So I rated the Spice a 4 out of 5. The only reason I knocked this one down from a 5 was because there wasn't as much spice as I thought there would be, which surprised me.
Yeah.
We didn't get spice until like well over halfway through the book, I believe, if I remember
Something
correctly.
like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
When they
so
got
like
to Fion's house.
yes, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously it took a long time. It's not that it detracted from the storyline. Like I said, I gave the storyline a 5, so it wasn't that it detracted from the whole book. It was that I thought going into this, considering it was marketed as a dark romance, I just thought there would be more spice. However, the quality of the spice and the spice that we did get, I would rate a 5. Like if we're just talking about the actual spice that was in
Mm-hmm.
the book, fuck, it was good.
It was so good.
The first time that they did it, the first time they did their thing, it was so reminiscent, and like it was much more spicy than this, but it was so reminiscent of Silver Flames for me because she's all
Mm-hmm.
like fucked up, like her face is fucked up from the murderer, the serial killer. So like I think when we have a trope like that where the woman's like very injured but the man's still obsessed with her even though she looks flawed and she has all these issues, this
Mm-hmm.
kind of shows that it's deeper than, like
Right. It's not just physical. Like she literally is like beat to a pulp, like
like a
bloodied
boot.
up, bruised up. And he's like, you're the hottest thing I've ever seen. Like, and it goes to show that it's more than physical, especially for him. Like, and yeah, it was so good.
So good. So a
Mm.
line, a spicy line that I loved was when they were first doing it. He says, "Are you on contraception? Good, because I'm gonna fucking fill you until you're overflowing with my cum."
Yeah, he did. Oh, yes.
And we ate
My
that.
favorite was when he said he was going to spread her open and like have her like a feast.
Mm,
I was like, yes, please.
Rowan!
And then what did he do? He did it.
He did exactly what he said he was gonna do. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what did you rate the spice? Come on, tell me.
I rated it a 5.
Yes.
No, I take that back, a 4.5 because you're right. I wanted more,
Yeah.
but it was so good that I have to give it at least a 4.5. Because it was like, although I'm struggling because the tension was so good because you got it from both their sides, like leading up to it. That like, what? Yes, I was gonna say, would the actual spice be as spicy without the tension? It would be because it was very well written spice, but the tension kind of made it for me too because I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I did write another quote down that I loved. I think it was Lark, her friend, that said it.
Yep.
But it was like, I just want to be tossed around a little, manhandled, call me a dirty little slut, and I'm all for it. And I was like, that's my girl. That is my girl. And I should have talked about her when it came to characters, but Lark is my favorite, like, friend in a book when it comes to spicy scenes like this.
Can we like switch gears for a second? Do you think
Yeah.
Lark and the mafiosa brother are gonna be like, yeah,
I think
I'm
that's
so
going to be book
excited.
2. That's my prediction.
Oh, see, I think it's gonna be Rose and oh my god, what is his brother, the other brother, the
Yeah.
Fion. I think it's going to be Rose and Fionn because we got so much of them in the last book. And we didn't get...
We did, but I don't want to spoil it for friends, but there's the moment at the very end of the epilogue where they're leaving the restaurant and what's his name? Lachlan is there.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's going to be the foreshadowing for the second book.
Look, I'm happy either way. I think Bryn Weaver is going to be one of those, like, no questions asked by the book kind of authors for me from now on, just from this book. Like, I'll eat anything up that she writes.
Absolutely. Between the spice and the storyline, there's no way I would not buy a book by her from now on. Like, she has moved very quickly up to one of those authors for me.
Yeah, no questions asked. Purchase. I love that we get the next book in January, though. I'm so excited now.
I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed if it's not. So, Bryn, I know I keep talking to you like you're listening, but if you are listening to this, like, please make me an arc reader. I will read every arc you want from now on.
Okay, we're on a mission now. We've got to find the arcs.
Give me the arc. Give it to me.
All right. Moving on to pacing. Is one of my favorite things to discuss about a book because pacing to me is so important with my ADD.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I cannot stand when a book is just standstill.
Mm-hmm.
I gave the pacing a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was paced really well. I loved that I ended a chapter and was already looking forward to getting stuck into the next one. I love when a book just, like, doesn't let me... It just doesn't cease. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And there were moments of utter chaos when we were hunting down serial killers, and then soft, quiet moments when Sloane was, like, thinking the worst of herself. And really funny moments, like when Sloane was mouthing lobotomy to Rowan while he was looking at her saying, "You love me."
And he was not getting it on. In his defense, he was a little bit drugged.
He was drugged.
But I think he would have still done it anyway, just because of the way his personality is and his humor. Like, he still probably would have said the same thing.
I agree. It's so funny. Like, I think, like, that mixture of adventure plus the prospect of these two hotties getting it on made this book, like, god tier entertainment. I just felt like the pacing was pretty much spot on. Maybe I should change my rating to 5. I think maybe I'm going to change my pace rating to 5. Yeah, I'm doing it. It's done.
So I'm just going to agree with you because I feel the exact same way. I loved the pacing in this book. And I liked that even when I stopped, because I'm like, I have to go to bed now, or like, oh, great work, you know, I could not wait to pick it back up again. And if the pacing wasn't there for me, then that wouldn't have happened. Like, I would have just been like, oh, I got to read this chapter again. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. And there were so many fun moments throughout the story that I'm like, what's next? Like, and you don't know if you're going to get like a soft, sweet moment or if it's going to be like cannibalism or fancy special ice cream. You don't know. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. So,
no, you're 100%.
For those of you who read the book, the ice cream is important. If you haven't, please message me and Sass when you get to the ice cream. We are waiting.
Please, we're actually begging.
We need reactions, always.
I love that. I love that this is like a 10s across the board for you book. This is so positive.
I love this book so much. I have no bad things to say about this book. Yes, the spice could have come a little bit sooner, but like, I don't know, I still loved the tension. The tension for me...
Oh, it was so good.
I'm over here like, how can I get someone who wants to like challenge me to do something fun? Like, obviously not kill people because like, obviously. But like a fun little, let's meet up every year and like do a challenge and see who wins. And then I loved that she would rub it in his face if she was the one that won that challenge. Yes. I mean, he did the same thing on his end too, but I'm like, yes.
Oh, it was so good. Okay, favorite quotes. So I've already spoken about it, but Sloane mouthing lobotomy and him legitimately like, "You love me" was honestly one of the funniest parts of the book. Like, the fact that we've got a dude who's had a lobotomy in a book, like, lobotomy is a big topic at the moment in my For You page because, yeah, brain's so smooth. So I
Yeah.
I loved it. And also just the beginning of the book. So for those of you, I think this is the author's foreword. So for those of you who read the trigger warnings and said, accidental cannibalism, count me in. This one's for you.
There's nothing I love more than a funny dedication. I
Like, oh,
have
that's
so many
really
funny
good.
dedications saved on my phone because they're just the best. Like, you know what you're getting going into this book, like, with the dedication.
So good. And then more of like a, this one just like pulled at my heartstrings, but like Rowan saying, I wish you would have stayed, Blackbird. I would have taken you back into the kitchen. We could have made something together. Like, it wasn't even like sexual or anything. It was just like full of
Mm-mm.
love and just like just this overwhelming sense to just be with her and share something
Yeah.
with her. So sweet. I love Rowan.
He's so good. I love him too. So, on that same note, the "you'll love me one day," that'll be a hill I'll die on. I loved the fact that throughout the entire book, anytime she would say something like, "I hate you," or "you're annoying," or whatever, he'd be like, "You'll love me one day." And that like got me every single time. Um, and I so much that I wrote it down like 3 times. Because there's another part in the book where she's like, "I'm 100% positive I hate you." And he said, "And I'm 100% positive you'll love me one day." Like, I literally just kept writing it down because I just loved it so much. A quote that made me die of laughter was in the beginning. And I know that I've talked to you about this, but anytime that something like a trademark that she does is she takes out the eyes of the serial killer when she murders them. And so he makes these comments about gouging the eyes out, and she says, "No, I plucked them like a lady." We did this with class, okay?
Yeah, I loved that.
And then a
She
sweet one, which we talked about too with that first scene, is he said, "You're all the best things to me, Sloane, no matter how many bruises are in your heart and on your skin." And I was like, oh, no matter what she looks like, you'll love her forever. Like, love me, Rowan. Please, please love me.
if men actually spoke to us like this,
They could get anything they wanted. Like, I don't understand why they haven't realized that yet.
like, read some books, brothers.
Mm-hmm. Seriously, though, like,
I think it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, you've seen them, like, here, look, here. I'm giving the men an idea to become famous. Have you seen the men who have taken notice of Book Talk and have run with it and who've become famous influencers purely from
yeah.
cosplaying a book character? Like, boys, get on it. What is wrong with all of you?
Mm-hmm.
Get it
But
together.
actually read the book first. Don't be one of those people that just does it to do it. Read the book and then get back to us.
Literally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know my opinions about
Yeah.
all right, so my favorite spicy scene of the book was definitely the first time, like everything that
Mhm.
happened. I was bright red. The way that
Yeah.
he was like, I'm just gonna keep making you come. Ooh, okay. All right, sir.
Yep.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that our girlie had like multiple piercings on her genitalia. I had to look one of them up. I
Yes.
was like, what is that?
Multiple piercings everywhere. I loved it. Because you
Like,
don't get that often. Like, you don't
no,
get that.
it's usually a pierced cock. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Right.
Oh, boring. But like,
And not only that, not only were they pierced, but he knew exactly what to do with each one. Like, he knew.
he knew.
Mm.
It was just like such a refreshing. Yeah, it was such a refreshing thing to have her be so alternative down there. Like, I loved it. There was a part in the first scene where like they finished up, but he was like, okay, so now you can go to bed. So he puts pillows around her, slips in next to her, and slips back in her, and he's like, go to bed while I'm inside.
I'm gonna stay here.
And she's like, it's been like 20-30 minutes and he's still hard. Okay.
And he was asleep. And she's like, I need more. More.
So good.
And then he wakes up and he's so ready again. Oh my God.
So good. So yeah, I think the first scene was definitely my favorite. I think also because it had been such a build up. And so like, I don't know if you've read the Plated Prisoner series, but the build up in that book, it's like book 3 that they finally do it. So they're spicy books, but you don't get the 2 main characters spice until book 3, and it's like 75% of the way through. And I swear you're reading for half an hour of like foreplay because she can't touch him until the sun goes down. So they're just sitting there like, and this book felt reminiscent of that kind of like real, like before we even do anything, like I'm just gonna, I just felt overwhelmed with how hot it was, like the build up.
Absolutely. Now, see, my favorite one was towards the end. I already talked about being spread and feasted on, but like on the table in the restaurant, that's not only any table, it's her table that he carved Blackbird's table into the table. And then was like, I told you to get on the table. Like, why are you on the bench? Get on the table.
Yes, and the way she's like, people could see us, and he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Nope. And good girls get rewarded, baby.
Oh, yeah, epic. Also, like the fact that he named a whole restaurant after both of them. Are you
so
joking?
Sweet.
This man, gorgeous.
We love him.
We really do. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss or gush about? Because I feel like we both absolutely fucking loved this book.
Just, if you haven't read it, go, run, do it now. We give you a little bit of spoilers here and there, but nothing that really like deterred from the story itself. So definitely go read it if you have not already, because it is worth it. It is definitely one of my favorite books that I've read recently. So
yeah, I have to agree with you there. I don't think that anything we've said would detract from the storyline and all of the fun things that happen in between, all of this beautiful chaotic romance, like the serial killers flying across the country, hunting them down. Like, it's just such a good, unique story. I don't feel like I read
and the twist at the end was good. I always guess things ahead of time, and I wish I wasn't that way. Like, I ruin them for myself. But it was like such a good twist that even I was like, damn, that was great.
I'm so dumb. I guess anything.
No, I always guess it like very quickly in, and I will say it did take me a while to guess this one. So if you're like me and you guess things very quickly, I did not. So maybe it's just I'm losing my touch or just a thing. Who knows? But it was a very, very good twist, and I loved it.
I love that. Well, that is the end of today's podcast episode. We really hope that you enjoyed our Good Girls review of Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver.
Tune in next week to hear our top picks for Slutty Little Christmas.
We'll be bringing you some of the deranged picks that we found on Goodreads.
You won't want to miss it. Trust me.
Remember to stay in touch and follow us on Instagram at good.girls.pod.
See you next week, good girls.